Welcome to BaseballGuys.com. I'm your host on Around the Horn, Ray Flowers. Let's get started by talking about the sad case of Ryan Vogelsong. Leading the National League in ERA about a month and a half ago, his last 7 starts in ERA of 7.27. He's dreadful. He's awful. He's someone you've got to drop from your fantasy squad. I don't know if I'd go that far. I mean, his ERA is still 3.24 on the season. His 3.29 on the season, His WHIP is 1.24. Those are still very good numbers. Now, the ERA and the ratio that last season Vogelsong put up, shouldn't have thought that was going to be repeated this year. It's not being repeated this year, but it's not that bad for Vogelsong. The issue with Vogelsong is he's not a huge ground ball pitcher. He's not a big strikeout pitcher. He doesn't really have any talents that stand out. He doesn't throw very hard. The issue with Vogelsong is he knows how to pitch. Even when he struggles in games, sometimes he'll go up 3 or 4 innings early, he'll then hold the other team scoreless for 4 or 5 innings, giving his team a chance to win. Vogelsong is a very good Major League pitcher. He's a very sound Major League pitcher, but he simply doesn't have the skill set to support the ratios he had last season and the ratios he had at the start of this year. He's just not that pitcher, folks. The overall guy, the 3.2 ERA, the 1.2 WHIP, that kind of pitcher, those are numbers that are sustainable with Ryan Vogelsong. But that doesn't mean he's someone you should be starting at the current moment on your fantasy squad. Kenley Jansen is someone you're not starting on your fantasy squad. He's obviously out with the heart issue. Now, there's a lot of concerns that he might miss the rest of the season. Good news with Kenley Jansen is that he will be back in mere weeks. That heart condition he has, he's taking medication for. The belief is that will solve the problem, at least in the short term for Jansen. The expectation being that he'll be back on the 17th or 18th of September. Very good news for him. 25 saves on the season, a 13.7 strikeout per 9 mark. He has been dominating from virtually the get-go this season. Until he returns, look for Brandon League to apparently get the majority of the work at the 9th inning. Belisario is still in the mix for some work there. Looks like the Dodgers will go with League until Jansen returns. Zack Grienke, well, he hasn't returned, but he's looked much more like Zack Grienke his last 3 outings for the Angels. Now, since he joined the Angels, an ERA in the 4.3s, a WHIP of almost 1.3, he's not pitched very well for the club since being acquired from the Brewers. The last 3 times he's taken the hill, though, he has looked very good. He's got 3 victories in that time. He's allowed only 4 earned runs, pitching much more like the Grienke that the Angels thought they were getting. Now, he's solving problems with the long ball. He's given up 8 of them in his last 7 outings, and until he curtails that, he could be hit or miss from start to start. But right now, Zack Grienke is pitching much better, and he is someone you should feel pretty confident about rolling with in your starting rotation. Andrew McCutchen is someone you can feel confident about rolling with in your starting lineup until the season is over. For the next 10 years, probably, Andrew McCutchen is a dynamic talent, hitting .347, 24 home runs, 90s in the RBIs, 80s in the runs scored, 16 steals. Andrew McCutchen has had a dynamic, fantastical 2012 season. Now, there's some concerns recently with Andrew McCutchen. He hit .252 in August. That obviously made a lot of people nervous, but when you're hitting in the 370s as he was when August started, you can't expect that to continue, folks. It's just not a sustainable number. If you look at his performance, of late he's got 12 hits in his last 7 games, so he's white hot yet again. And he's hitting .321 in the second half of the season. That would be a season-best batting average if he were to sustain that. So .321 still pretty good, though not the level we saw in the first half. Now again, he's hitting .347 right now, and why is that an important number? Melky Cabrera is hitting .346. Now, Melky Cabrera finished the season with 501 plate appearances. You need 502 to qualify for the batting title. Major League Baseball has a rule that if you finish under that total of 502, they just add plate appearances to your workload until you get to the number 502 and then see what your batting average is. In the case of Cabrera, adding that 1 extra plate appearance would still leave him with that .346 batting average. As I said, .347 right now for Andrew McCutchen. Major League Baseball must have its fingers crossed that Andrew McCutchen can keep that average at .347 or higher, because if they don't, we're going to have the very sticky situation in Major League Baseball, them potentially awarding the NL batting crown to a guy who got busted for PEDs. And if we get to that point, we're going to have a lot of problems in the world of baseball. LaRoche having no problems right now. He is on fire for the Nationals. He's got his home run total up to 27. His RBI total is pushing 90 right now. He's been great. He's battling actually Buster Posey and Steven Strasburg probably for comeback player of the year. Now, LaRoche, 4 home runs, 8 RBIs the last couple of times out on the field. How many games is that? 5 games to be exact for LaRoche. Career highs of 32 home runs and 100 RBIs are both within reach this season. He has been, as always, a run-producing corner infield option in mixed leagues. LaRoche doing what he always does, and that is give you good numbers for a cheap draft day cost. Jesus Montero, Came with a little bit more, obviously, pub and hype this year than LaRoche, but he's performed very well if your expectations were reasonable. Montero's hit in the low 200s at home, but he's hit over 300 on the road. He's just not figured out how to hit safe go. A lot of Mariners have had that problem. Since the All-Star break, Montero's almost hitting 300. He's got 7 home runs in 42 games played, and he has performed very, very well for the Mariners. His defense has been a little better than expected. His offense is coming along. Montero next season has got a very good chance to be one of these catchers that hits 250 with 25 home runs and 75 RBIs. Just not a lot of those guys to go around. Alfonso Soriano, he's always hitting 20 home runs. He's done it in the last 11 seasons, and in fact, 10 of the last 11 seasons, he's hit at least 24 home runs, including this season. In his last five games played, 3 home runs, 9 RBIs for Alfonso Soriano. He's had a great bounce-back season for the Cubs. He's got a chance to have 100 RBIs for the first time since 2005, when he actually set a career best with 104 RBIs. 26 home runs, 88 RBIs right now for Alfonso Soriano. He's been a great source of power, though he doesn't run anymore, and he's only hitting in the 260s. He's been a very, very strong option as a depth outfielder in five starting outfield mixed leagues. And then finally, Mark Reynolds, dreadful in the first half. Dreadful. But I kept saying, keep the faith in Mark Reynolds. Finally, if you kept the faith, or if you added him in a trade or off the waiver wire, you're being rewarded for that. Let's not forget the last 3 seasons. Top 5 in all of baseball amongst third basemen in home runs, RBIs, and runs scored is Mark Reynolds. Not getting it done this season for 4 months. Finally has figured it out at the dish, and he is streaking right now for the Orioles. Over his last 29 games, 9 home runs, 20 RBIs, 21 RBIs, 20 runs scored. He's hitting 295 as well. That's pretty damn good for a guy who is not a strong batting average producer. Mark Reynolds surging, 5 home runs, 11 RBIs in his last 5 games played. He's on your waiver wire. I don't think he is, but if he is at this point, add him immediately. He is scorching hot, and as we have seen from him in the past, he's got those peaks and valleys. Right now, he's peaking. I'm Ray Flowers, BaseballGuys.com. Thanks for joining me on Around the Horn. Talk to y'all again soon.